Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or if it's your first time, welcome to my channel. My name is Marlene and I talk about eating disorder recovery and everything related to healing the relationship with your own body, with food and with movement. And let's dive right into the topic as we always do. And a bunch of you have actually asked me to make a video about reasons to recover. And in this motivational video, I'm just gonna talk about my own reasons to recover. Hopefully they inspire you too. And I just want to point out, full recovery is possible. There was a very long time where I thought recovery was just not for me, it doesn't work for me, it makes everything worse. And yet here I am being fully recovered and I never regretted it. I've actually never met anyone who is fully recovered and who regretted going that road, even though the road itself is not easy. That being said, let's start with reason number one, and that is actually embracing life's fullness. Because oftentimes, even if we're surviving with our eating disorders, we're not actually living. And there's a huge difference between living and surviving. When I think about my own story, I remember that yes, I was surviving, but only due to my eating disorder rules. I would not be able to be spontaneous. I was not able to hang out with friends, to travel as much as I wanted to actually do the things I'm doing now. And back then I thought that is enough. I'm surviving and that is enough. Now that I have the direct contrast, I would never want to go back again because the things I'm doing now have just not been possible back then. And so in order to get to a life that you can fully live and where you can fully thrive, recovery is necessary. Reason number two is to live in alignment with your values. When I was caught up in my eating disorder, I did not live up to my values. My values are being authentic, being honest, helping others, and so many more that I actually had to identify when I was in recovery. But when I was caught up in my eating disorder, the eating disorder was so loud that even though I felt guilty for not living up to my values, I just couldn't. I was lying to other people, saying I had eaten already. I made up excuses to go on a walk. There were like so many things where I was not being my authentic self. And I also didn't have the energy to help others as much as I have now, because my eating disorder took up so much space and so much time that I was actually not able to live up to my full potential, and that I was not able to live up to my values because I actually had forgotten my values. Like, as I just said, I had to identify them again in recovery because my eating disorder was covering up my true values so much that I didn't even know who I was without my eating disorder anymore. Which brings me to point number three, finding your true identity and finding your true self. When we are caught up in eating disorders, we identify ourselves, our things that are actually not our true selves. So I identified as the sick person, as the workaholic, as the person who's constantly running around, as the person who has a lot of self-control, even though it was actually not real control. The thing about eating disorders is they give us a feeling of control, but it's actually not control because it's not our own choice, it's the eating disorder's choice. So finding my own identity, and like, for me, recovery was like a blank canvas. I had like a blank space and I could really find out who I am, what I like, what I don't like, and what makes me me. And I'm forever grateful for this point of starting over because now I know so much better who I am and what makes me me. And the next reason is finding joy in food again. And even though in recovery it feels like food might be the frenemy, it might be your friend but also still the enemy, over time I can promise you can find joy in food again. Because for me, it was never that I didn't like food or that I didn't like to eat. It was just that I had the feeling that I had to control it and that I could not give up that control. So now being able to travel and to try new foods, being able to go to a new space, to share foods with others, to spontaneously order a pizza or to cook my favorite meal is worth so much because I don't even have a second thought. Being able to eat something and it just tastes good and it satisfies your craving is worth so much more than saying no to everything and having this false sense of control. And the next reason is reclaiming your health. And I know that for a lot of people in eating disorders, their health is not number one priority because otherwise the eating disorder wouldn't be so loud. And it kind of makes sense. The eating disorder tricks us either into thinking that the way we live is healthy or that the health doesn't matter that much and therefore we can still listen to the eating disorder. But over time, when I was in recovery and probably when I was like about 1 year in, I like started to get this feeling of, damn, I really want to be healthy. I've put my body through so much, and all I want is to be healthy. And even though for a lot of people that can be a long road, especially when they suffer from chronic illness, which I'm going to make another video about, or also suffering with the consequences of their eating disorder, there is still a chance to live a healthier life. Because if you feel like you damaged your body already and you're suffering from the consequences of that disordered eating, continuing to do that will not be any helpful. In fact, you already have the proof that it's hurting you. So choosing recovery now can still turn things around, and it can still help you to reclaim your health and to find a fully balanced and healthy life. And the next reason that played a huge role for me personally is to strengthen your relationships. Oftentimes, eating disorders have an impact on your personal relationships. You're not able to go so much into depth, you have your own food rules, you're not as spontaneous, and a lot of people are actually not as emotionally available as they are when they are healthy. So even though I had friends when I was in my eating disorder, I still had great connections, and I thought everything was fine. The relationships that I have now are so different from the relationships that I had to the same people when I was in my eating disorder. But I'm just so much more able to be in the moment right now, to spend as much time with people as I want to give them my full attention, to not lie to them, to not only meet with them to go for a walk, but to do whatever we want to do, to heal the relationships with my own family, with my friends. There's like so much to it that recovery has given me that I do not want to miss out on. And another thing is romantic relationships. I did make another video about that before, but I was not able to be in a romantic relationship when I was in the depths of my eating disorder. That was something that was just not in the covers for me, because I had so many rules, I had so many things that I felt like I had to do. I was so self-conscious with my body that being in a true and serious relationship was just not possible for me. I am in a relationship now, and I'm telling you, it is the best feeling ever to feel like you can finally open yourself up. You can be your true self, and you find someone who truly likes you the way you are, physically and especially emotionally. And this is something I don't want to miss on. And I know that I would not be in this situation had I not chosen recovery. And the next reason is enhance your self-worth. Even though starting recovery oftentimes feels like our self-worth goes down and we feel like more insecure and we feel like we hate ourselves even more, full recovery will bring you to the point where you can see your full self-worth outside of numbers, your weight, or the way you look like. For me, my self-worth was so tied to my weight and the way I looked like that I had such a hard time letting go of that, because for a certain amount of time in my recovery, I actually felt like I could never like myself again, and I felt so worthless. I felt like I'm not worthy anymore, which was of course the eating disorder speaking. But full recovery taught me that my self-worth is so much more than the way I look, so much more than any numbers or the way I can quote-unquote control myself around food. In fact, recovery actually gave me way more self-worth, because I understood that my true self is truly enough, but also that I can be liked and still be eating. In fact, that it's something that a lot of people like, if you can be free and spontaneous around food. And also being able to help you guys and to be hopefully a role model for some of you guys, and like create quote-unquote like a legacy and help other people on their journey is something that recovery has given me. That does not mean that everyone who's in recovery right now has to become a recovery coach, but being able to tell your story is so helpful, even to people who have not had an eating disorder. I had situations where I shared my story and I had people telling me, this is so inspirational, not because I have an eating disorder, but because it shows that we are so much stronger than we think, and that you are a person that went through the things that held her back. And so being able to tell that story and to inspire others is also a great reason to choose recovery. And the next one is having more mental freedom, because we all know it. When we are caught up in an eating disorder or only in disordered eating, our mental capacity is limited. When I was struggling with my disordered eating, I could only think about food, about how many steps I had to take, if I could be able to make those steps, how to avoid food, what to eat at night, if I had enough food around, but also if I had enough volume food around. There were so many things that I thought about constantly. I was body checking. I thought a lot about money. I had a lot of OCD in terms of cleaning. So the eating disorder also went over to other parts of my life. And overall, my mental capacity was just not the same as it is now. Now I can truly focus on my work. When I'm in a session with my client, I'm 100% there. I listen to them, I work with my client together, I don't think about anything else. That was just not possible for me when I had my eating disorder. I was in college when I had my eating disorder, and even though I kind of made it and I passed all my exams, it was not the same. I would constantly think about something else. I could never fully concentrate. My mental capacity was, I want to say, to 80 or 90% occupied by food and calories and number and everything that had to do with my ED. So having this freedom, which comes over time, and I know oftentimes in recovery it feels like I'm constantly thinking about food. I can't think about anything else. In fact, it's actually getting worse than before. But just so you know, this is a very common thing. That can be very, very normal, and it doesn't mean that you're unable to recover. It is just a part of recovery that can be super annoying and super hard to go through, but it's actually the way to get to more mental freedom. Reason number 10 is pursuing your own goals and dreams. And the first part of that is actually to knowing what your own goals and dreams are, because oftentimes when we concentrate so much on our body goals and on the eating, we don't even know what dreams and goals we have in life. A lot of people actually discover in eating disorder recovery, oh, I kind of want to travel, or maybe I want to be a mom or a dad, or maybe I want to have 10 dogs, or I want to move somewhere else, or I want to found a business. There are so many things that you will discover about yourself once you start recovery. And for me, moving to America was one of my biggest life goals. Had I not chosen recovery, I could have not been moving here, because I live in LA now. I'm originally from Germany, for those who don't know, and I just am so grateful that I have the physical strength, that I have the mental strength, that I have the mental stability to go through this whole green card process, to go through the moving process, to go through making new friends in a completely new country. Had I been still caught up in my eating disorder, I would probably still run around and look for low-calorie foods, and I had not been making so many friends. So yes, pursuing your own goals and dreams is so great, and it is only possible if you choose recovery. I truly hope this list of my own reasons helps you guys to continue your recovery, or maybe also to start recovery in the first place. And I would also love to hear your own personal reasons, maybe your own goals, your own dreams in life, or whatever made you choose recovery. Because to be completely honest, recovery is a hard way, but it is so possible. So please feel free to share your own reasons in the comments. I can't wait to read them, and I will see you guys in the next one.